Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Monday morning. Well, what a weekend, huh? The Utes win. The Aggies win. Real Salt Lake wins. We'll get to Bronco Mendenhall and Kyle Whittingham here in a minute, but we're going to start you off with Pablo Mastroeni talking about RSL's 2-1 victory over Sporting Kansas City that inches them within 1 point of the last playoff spot in the Western Conference. Here's Pablo.
Yeah, I think, like I said earlier this week, where the guys had nothing to play for, but they were sharp every single day. It's not always easy to gauge where they're at physically. And I think in the second half we had a bit of tired legs. But really proud of the way we approached the first half, and I think created a lot of good opportunities, imposed ourselves on the game, and just really proud of the effort and the commitment from the guys. Obviously there's some pressure on the group. We got 6 games left now, and we got to almost win out, right? And so it's not the easiest thing for a relatively young team to kind of take on, but what I'm really proud of how they hung in there. A lot of set pieces at the end. It wasn't easy, but they found a way. And I think, down the stretch and into the playoffs, you got to find ways to win games. And tonight they showed a lot of bravery, a lot of character, and I'm really proud of the guys.
You mentioned the pressure and the not many games left. You've got 3 games in 8 days this week, 2 against LAFC coming up. How are you approaching just that congestion that might be there?
Well, again, I think we'll get some guys back hopefully this week. Diogo will get fitter with a bit more time. He's been out for since we last played Minnesota. But I think the most important thing is to make sure that we recover the right way, and then we take on a very good LAFC team. But we're playing them at home, and so the onus is on us to attack the game the right way. And I think going back and looking at the film from the first half in particular, how we want to approach it, what the mindset should be like, and we got to find ways to get maximum points in these next few games to keep the momentum going. And I think this league's a streaky league. And when you put forth a performance like tonight where you had a lot of quality and control in the first half, and the second half you saw a lot of tenacity and grit and resilience, I think the combination of those two things are going to be necessary in the rest of the games moving forward. So, again, just really happy for the group. It wasn't easy, time to prepare for this game, but they did a great job.
What adjustments did you guys emphasize this week that made that difference tonight?
We just keep building on what we've done. We don't change things and throw things out the window because we don't get results. We keep working. I think there's always details and nuance into the way we want to play, and so we focused a lot on our, like I said, our box defending. And I think the guys did a great job. We talked about making sure we get numbers in the box, so our box attacking. The guys did a great job of that tonight. And I think when you control when you win those areas, more times than not, you're going to win the game. And I think set pieces was another area that we worked on in those last few weeks. And tonight we took on more than what we'd like, but the guys handled themselves the right way. So the work that we do is always a continuation, a layer upon layer upon layer. And I think we were able to get some really good understanding of the details and the nuances of the different phases, and the guys executed tonight.
And then did you feel like the group showed that urgency required for a playoff push tonight?
I think so. I think the crowd was electric tonight. I think when you step in and the weather gets a little bit cooler, it's like you're not even conscious. It's subconscious, but it's a real, there's something on this game. It was palpable. And I think the guys, again, every game's going to have its flow. Who scores first, when you score, how you score. I think SKC is a difficult team, given where they're at. You don't know how they're going to approach the game, whereas you'll have a better idea with the rest of the teams moving forward. You're vying for playoff spots, and where they're at in the table. So I think they'll approach the game a little differently than tonight.
Hey, Pablo. Congrats on the win. You're looking sharp tonight.
Thank you.
My question is, and the second goal, I just want to...
By the way, let me stop you there. This is the one thing I can control. This is the one thing I can control.
You're controlling very well right now.
Yeah.
Let me start over. So on the second goal, I kind of want to talk to you. Was that something more that you practiced throughout the week, or was that just opportunistic that Catranes was there?
No, that's been a main point of emphasis for us. Because if we have Gozo with the ball, we should have a 10, Juan, we should have Victor, and we should have Alex in the box, right? And that's something and that's why that position for us needs to be subbed, because defensively it's a left back, it's not a left wing back, and so there's a lot of running. But the commitment to score goals, we found ourselves in a lot of situations where we didn't have that back post player. But having said that, the execution from Gozo to get the ball there, and Alex, the willingness to be in that spot, and then obviously the finish was fantastic. So these are game model situations that we go through, and like I said, we've been working on the boxes, and that's been a point of emphasis over the last few weeks.
My other question is the opposite of that. Is were there any moments late in the game where you felt the team was under risk, and how did you communicate to maintain composure on that?
Yeah, it's hard. I think the guys felt a little bit of pressure, and obviously, the interesting thing about soccer is when a team has nothing to lose, in other words, you're already down and it's late in the game, they're willing to play even numbers in the back or even minus players in the back, right? And so what they're trying to do is obviously flood your box. When you have control of the game and you break lines, oftentimes you'll find yourself on a 2v2 or a 2v3 in these situations. Your eyes get big and you go for the goal. Now, if you don't capitalize on that, we are playing into their hands. So in other words, teams that are behind the score want transition moments because they have a lot of numbers up ahead. Teams that are with the lead want complete control. So again, I think it's a learning process for us where it might be 2v2, but we want to bring our whole team forward. We don't want to go to goal. We want to get control of the game again. And I just felt like in the second half, we weren't able to get that control. So with Diogo going in, I said, let's try to get control of the game. And there was a couple moments where we did that, and then we gave away a bad pass. And then now it's transition again, right? So I think, again, there's a lot to take away from the second half of this game. Having said all that, rarely does it go the way you plan it or the way you communicate it, because there's so much emotion in it. And for us, the emotion piece is we have 7 games to go, and we needed to win this one at home. And that adds a lot to the decision-making, the fatigue, and the pressure that existed in the game tonight.
My last question is, Diego scored back again since May in the league. Was that a little bit of relief for him because he has a lot of pressure for the kind of caliber player he is?
Yeah, I had a chat with Diego yesterday, and I think the most important thing is that, one of the things that makes Diego a fantastic player is not only what he does with the ball and scoring goals and assisting, but the work he did tonight defensively for the team. And I think in the first half, he made so many great plays defensively. And when you do that, you're just engaged in the game. You're not thinking about, I didn't get the ball here, or I didn't score there, or I didn't get the assist there. You are just you're in the present, And I think tonight he played in the present. He got in the box, which is where he does all his damage. And I couldn't be happier for the young man who's been, there's been a lot of pressure heaped on him, not just from our team, but obviously the national team. And to have him have such a complete performance tonight, I couldn't be more proud.
2 assists tonight for.
Sorry, go ahead.
2 assists tonight for Gozo. Did you know that he had kind of that playmaking ability and then being able to fulfill horizontally like he did, or is that just another layer that's kind of being added to him?
It is, and I'd attribute that to confidence. Gozo, even when he first got his starts, he was a very one-dimensional player. In other words, going to the end line and trying to cross it. Now, as he's grown through the season, when he comes inside, he becomes a threat as well. And so teams have to play him a little bit more honestly. And again, I think it's just Gozo playing with a lot of confidence, and almost he's growing right before our eyes. I think there's moments where, he's still hurrying some decisions, but the 2 decisions that he made tonight, won us the game. So, credit to Gozo and his humility to keep learning, and his execution tonight was fantastic.
DJ and then Short.
Can I ask you about Cabral again? Those 2 saves he made back-to-back, the second one sitting down on Jovic, who has 17 goals. you'd be nowhere with that guy game after game.
What do you want me to say to that? I agree with you. No, he's been top. He's been top, top leader, top human, top player, and you need these type of performances, especially down the stretch where, he doesn't make those saves. We don't win the game. It's that simple. He's been a beast. I'm grateful that he's going to be with the club for quite some time. I think he imparts so much of who he is on the rest of the locker room as well, and his work ethic is second to none. And at his age, to be able to do what he does day in and day out in training is a reflection of what he's able to do in the games. It's no secret that he's this good. It isn't. And that's what I keep trying to communicate to the players. He's the first one out, he's the last one to leave, and he'll take shots from anyone at any time. There's no ego. It's about the team. And just, again, another fantastic performance from Hoffa tonight.
Having said that, there was a moment of confusion with him and Vera, and it kind of put the team in a difficult situation. They clearly had a conversation about it, but it was reminiscent of Glad and Cabral having a moment of miscommunication and giving up a corner that Minnesota scored on. What is going on in those moments? And you talk about training these moments. What can you do to train that one? Because it's happened a couple times.
Yeah, no, I think every moment's different. I think communication is critical in these moments. I think awareness from more so the back line. So between awareness and communication, you got to be able to solve those situations because you can't mimic that exact play because it's going to show up differently in every time the ball rolls. It's going to be different, right? So I think just better communication and better awareness will help solve that. But again, I think you're absolutely right. The last couple of games, it's been an issue.
What was the game plan for dealing with Joveljic? Because although he did get a couple opportunities, it did seem for like long stretches of the game, he was frustrated he wasn't able to get on the ball.
The game plan is the same whenever we play against one striker. Nothing really changes. Obviously, they're split between, but depending on where we are in the field, we're more zonal, and then when we get closer to the goal, then one of our center backs have to latch on. And I think Jay and Vera did a good job neutralizing them for large portions of the game. But again, goal scorers will find ways to get good opportunities like he did in the second half.
Wolf hasn't played in a long time, and you subbed him in late in a critical game of the playoff race in a one-goal game. What gave you the confidence in him? What have you seen?
Because I say what I mean, and I mean what I say when I say training is the most important part. In the last 3 weeks, we give out a belt every day after training, and Wolfie's won more belts than anyone else on the team, right? And so what he's shown to the rest of the group, not just me, it's the belief that the group has in Wolfie as well. He's been scoring goals, he's been defending for the team, and when you have a player in that run of form, you want to put him out in the field. So again, it was a tough situation for him to come in tonight, but I think he held his own, made some really good plays, and again, definitely a player that we're leaning on as we head down the stretch.
After you got the second goal, the club played out of the back for a while. It didn't go well on several possessions, and then with about 10 minutes to go, everything was just played long. And I didn't know if that's a call Cabral makes back to his veteran leadership, or if you said something from the sideline.
Nope, that's all Hoffa and feeling the game. I think because oftentimes what happens if the coach decides that, he's operating from a place of fear, right? Because get it out of here. But if they feel confident in what they're doing, so that one goal kick where Jay Glad sprinted back, boom, and now we got control of the game again. So we work those plays, but it's ultimately up to Rafa to feel the emotion of the game. More importantly, feel the emotion of the center backs. Are they comfortable if I play out here? Of our pivots moving real good? Because again, if our back line and our pivots aren't moving and aren't playing with a lot of confidence, there could be some fatigue. So it's more of what he feels, and I think tonight he made some really good decisions in that regard.
Strikers are here for goals, we all know that, but at 6'3", Olatunji seems to be a target that Cabral's picking out, and Olatunji seems to, he's running around, looping around guys, trying to get body off the ball. It seems like he puts a lot of himself into that part of the game.
He does. He's such a willing worker for the team. Even when he's not scoring goals, he is a focal point of our attack. He's a focal point of our pressing, set pieces, the way he handles set pieces. He's just an all-around fantastic footballer. And I think tonight, he had a couple good looks at goal. There's no doubt in my mind that he's going to be a big-time scorer for us.
Lastly, it looked like Cruz was more comfortable and more confident playing sideline to sideline and from midfield to the 6-yard box. Did the 3 weeks help him?
I think so. And again, that's the toughest thing, DJ, is to kind of explain how difficult it is to come to a new team with the expectations that these guys have on them, given where we are in the table, right? Like, we don't have time. But in real life, it takes time to adjust. It takes time to feel confident, to understand the tactics, where my players move. Tonight was the best Juan's played, whether it's been in training or in a game. But you see it developing in training over the course of the last 3 weeks, where he's getting into great spots, he's scoring goals, and I thought his link play tonight was excellent.
Lastly, the sartorial choice, was that like you sending a message, it's fall, we're stepping up our game, I'm stepping up mine, or was that your wife just picked it out and so here you go?
This?
Yeah.
The yellow is for Child Cancer Night.
And the coat?
And the coat is just it's a cool coat.
Hey, Pablo. I wanted to ask about the integration of Victor and Juan into the attack. It seems like it's much easier and it just happens more often where the ball's just getting forward much faster. And I guess the question is that a symptom of just different personnel, different talents up front, different styles of play up front, or is that more of a tactical change?
Yeah. That's a great question. I think it's both, right? I think in order to make our attacking players dangerous, get them involved in the game, we need to be more vertical in the way we look at the game. Not vertical like launching it, but it's been a really it's been a focal point of ours in the last 3 weeks for our pivots. And I think you saw Brian and Emeka probably found our Victor and Juan in great spots. Whereas before in the past, they were playing a lot of lateral balls. So we'd come up the field slow because they'd play it to the outside back and then to get it again, then they'd play it to Brian and we'd go sideways. And so a big focal point of ours is as you're waiting for the ball, you've got to know where your 10s are. So in this case, it'd be Luna and Juan. And I think they did a fantastic job of doing that. So now we can turn the table. We can play Gozo out wide. We can play Alex out wide. And we can now get our shape behind the ball. So it's been deliberate. But a big part of that is if we want our attackers to be to cause a lot of threat against our opponents, we've got to give them the ball in dangerous areas. And I think they did a good job of that tonight.
Another question I had, and I don't know if it's just me looking for things, so tell me if I'm right here, but it seemed, and it happened more often in the first half, it seemed like Vera was getting forward a lot more, and a lot more involved in attack. He had a couple shots. And I was wondering if that was a game-specific plan, or if that's just Vera feeling the game, or is that you guys not really worrying so much about like a transition? Because it didn't seem like they ever really, they got behind once or twice when Vera did push forward, but they didn't really seem to punish you for it.
No, another great question, and another area of our focus the last few weeks is, and it really has to do with Diego staying in the turning box. So it's a center back, outside back, a winger, and a pivot. And if he stays in that turning box, what ends up happening is it pushes up our pivots in positions to receive the ball from Alex, which then pushes Vera higher up. If our 10s pop off, that means our pivots are further behind. That means Vera's further behind. So it's a knockdown effect. So we want Diego to be in that position because that's where he's dangerous, right? So then naturally, if he's staying there and he's running the half space, it'll pull your pivot forward. And that's what we've been wanting, to play more vertical and to create more chances on goal. And so as Diego runs the half space, naturally it's going to pull the pivot higher up, which now Vera's got to move with the ball. And so now he's in a position where he can cross it half space, but now we have a pivot, we have a 10, and we have our wing back in that position with Vera on the ball. And those are things that we've been repping. And I think tonight there's a lot, like you said, in the first half in particular, there's a lot of good opportunities that came from those moments And even when we rotate the ball, our group is more compact. So if Emeka stays high and Vera stays back, now you have gaps. And then gaps in our attack lead to transition, because if someone picks up the ball in that spot, now it's going the other way. But if Vera's pushed up to the next guy, Jay Glad's marking, Noel's pinched in, we feel like we have a good enough rest defense to be able to thwart any kind of counter going the other way.
Pablo, congratulations on the win. What do you see in the team tonight and in general that gives you confidence in the next 2 games against LAFC that are on the other end of the table as SKC? And what gives you concern?
What gives me belief is the way the guys are executing, the way the guys are fighting for each other, the way the guys are solving problems on the field. I think, again, I always say this to the group, is like our biggest opponent is ourselves. Because I feel like if we play the way we did in the first half, regardless of what name you put out there as our rival for the weekend, I feel like we can compete and win the game, right? And obviously, LAFC is a great team. They're flying at the moment, but again, I think the moment you start focusing on your opponent and that becomes the object of your attention, then you start to second guess yourself. What we talk about is we got to get one day better as a team. We got to get one day better as an individual. And these last 3 weeks have shown me that there's some really good understanding in areas that we were deficient heading into that 3-week break. And I feel like we can continue to hold ourselves to a higher standard than we did tonight. But I think, the belief that the guys have in themselves is what gives me belief as a coach.
There's RSL head coach Pablo Mastroeni. When we come back, we're going to Logan. The Utah State Aggies win their conference opener in convincing fashion as they beat Air Force. We'll hear from quarterback Bryson Barnes and Bronco Mendenhall next. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Well, Utah State does it. They get the most consequential win in state. They played a conference game. They beat Air Force. Utah and BYU have beaten a slew of to bad teams. For Utah State, under a new coach, 2-1, 1-0 in conference, they ought to be feeling pretty good right now. Bryson Barnes running for a couple of touchdowns. Actually, the Aggies ran for 5. They win 49-30. Here's Bryson Barnes after the win at home over Air Force.
You know, when you grew up here in the state of Utah, you probably saw Utah, BYU, and Utah State play Air Force a little bit, but this was your first game against the Academy, correct?
Yes, sir.
What was it? What was it like? I mean, it gets a little chippy out there, and sometimes they try to provoke you guys, don't they?
Wasn't very chippy, I feel like, on offense with the defensive guys. I mean, there's always going to be a few little scuffs and whatnot. You know, that's just football and dudes just being passionate, but wasn't as dirty as what I've heard that when we played this team in the past. I have heard there's been a little bit of problems with that, but no, it felt good out there. You know, a ton of respect for those guys. You know, they played hard, they're strong and tough, and yeah, it was a good time though.
You know, a lot of it was made out of back-to-back weeks where, the 6 sacks in each of the last 2 games. But tonight, I thought your guys up front really did a great job in both the run and the throw game, and that led you to 17-22, Bryson, for 287 and 2 touchdowns through the air. And I thought that you guys had great rhythm, especially there in the second half.
No, yeah, I agree. That's been obviously our point of emphasis, is to eliminate the sacks. And there's a lot of things that go into that. You know, it's not just the pass pro up front. You know, it's the receivers getting open downfield. It's me not holding the ball. You know, there's a lot of moving parts that go into the protection. And, you know, I have to take credit for many of those sacks because of my decision making and holding onto the ball too long. But it's obviously been a point of emphasis, and so it's great to see that we're making strides in the right direction, and I just think we're on the upward trend moving forward.
You're seeing a couple of superstars really establish themselves at wide receiver. Braden Pagan had himself a night. Brady Boyd with some big catches as well. Talk about their performances, because I thought both of them were just fantastic.
Yes, no, it's been great. I mean, the chemistry that I've built with them two and the other guys, those two especially, though, just the work that they put in each and every day. I mean, those two, they're connected at the hip outside of this, and so it's great to see that the work that they've been putting in together on their own during the extra time is really starting to pay off. And, you know, when you see that extra work, it shows up on the field. And as a quarterback, you're able to see it through a different lens, and that work that they put in, it shows when they run their routes and the separation that they're creating and the plays that they make. It's no coincidence of why these guys are separating themselves and making big plays.
All right, so we're all living vicariously through you as a quarterback. So a lot of people want to know, what's it like when it's a big third down and you draw them offside, so you got a free play, and are you just like, I'm going to let this rip and let's see what happens? And what a catch by Pagan, too, with that one-handed catch for the score. Yeah, no, it was wasn't expecting him. So Mac G, he was already calling the play that we wanted to call after our hard count before we had even ran the hard count, because he had already seen the look in the play we wanted. And so it was nice to see him jump off. And I was initially thinking boundary to Anthony Garcia. The corner was lost, had his eyes inside, and then he didn't. I felt being able to boot out and kind of extend the play even longer. Then at the same time, when you have those types of situations, there is nothing bad that can go, except the worst that we can come away with is an incompletion in that situation. And so it was just boot out, give myself a little bit of time, and just go let my playmakers make plays. And I feel like that's my job, is to distribute the ball, and that's a perfect example of that play, just distributing the ball and getting it into my playmakers' hands.
Load it up and let it fly. It was, you called it Mac G. That's Coach McGivern, and I thought that you guys had a great rhythm tonight. And I want to get your thoughts. Obviously, it was great to get the start, the fumble recovery, and then the early score.
Yep.
But I thought some of the adjustments you made at the half, maybe talk about what some of those adjustments were that led you to back 3 long 70-plus yard scoring drives in that third quarter.
Yeah, no, I feel like the longer we play, the longer the games go on, you start to see what we're really being successful with. And so it's really just kind of getting the ball out on the perimeter. That there's certain run schemes that work better in the second half than they did in the first half. So that's something you just kind of have to lean on and continue to just press on the O-line and just continue to follow your tracks, trust your reads, and just let that happen. So they weren't crazy, drastic changes that we made. It was just a matter of us going out there and executing.
When you come into a game against Air Force, you got to maximize those possessions.
Yep.
And you guys only had 56 plays, but you averaged almost 8.5 yards per play tonight. I thought, as I watched you perform tonight, that Coach McGivern's offense is coming to you now, and your ability to read 1 to 2 to 3 before you need to take off and run, that's starting to come more and more to you. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yes, I'd agree completely. And you can practice all you want, but until those bullets start flying in games, that's when it really has to kind of translate. And I feel like it's been translating really well, and everything's starting to click more and more with each rep and each down that we have. But so yeah, I'm really excited for everything moving forward.
Seems like you're having a lot of fun out there, man. Being the guy, being able to run an offense, being able to have a team and really call it your team. What's this like for you at this point in your career?
Man, I think it's super special. Had a lot of ups and downs in my career, but I do feel like everything that I've been through has led me to this moment, and so I'm just super grateful for each and every opportunity that I get to go out there and play. And regardless of what happens, I definitely just want to lean on my guys and continue to develop these relationships. These are the things that are going to last longer and beyond football, but I think the connections that we're able to build as a team is really going to help us move the team forward and winning games, but also what happens after football as well.
Got to ask you, you only had one game to look at with these guys, the Bucknell game a couple weeks ago, and they came in off a bye week. And so, they may have had perhaps a little bit of advantage to you. But were you able to see, for example, your touchdown throw to Braden in that first half, the little zone read stutter, a little shadow? Did you see that on film that maybe we could get somebody to bite?
Yeah.
Let's get beyond him?
No, I was not expecting that on that play. When I saw the boundary rotation, I felt like I was getting man coverage, and so that's what kind of got my eyes there immediately. And then I think I want to say it was a boundary safety that rolled down. He had dirty eyes because we had a counter scheme going on, and he kind of had dirty eyes, so he just kind of popped open. So no, that wasn't something that we were really anticipating on film, but I was glad that Braden was able to get his eyes turned around for that ball because it got out quick because he was so open so fast.
There's Aggie quarterback Bryson Barnes. Now here's the head coach, Bronco Mendenhall.
You never take a win against Air Force for granted. Hard-fought victory. Your guys played really well. I got to imagine this one puts a smile on your face.
I had just so much fun watching our team compete. They tried so hard. They were completely invested from the minute we got home from Texas A&M, knowing that the type of opponent we were going to play and what that was going to require, and they were just completely committed from, the minute we got on the plane after the Texas A&M game through tonight, and the sideline supporting each other and the players, just their determination and their effort, and quite frankly, their just demonstration of will and belief of what's happening in the program, I think was apparent. Yeah, we're not perfect and we're not playing perfectly, but you can't really watch the team play without seeing how much they're enjoying playing, how much they want to win, and how much they believe in the direction of the team and their program.
Yeah, we're talking to Will Holmes, who, by the way, had 13 tackles tonight, and that fumble recovery that really got you guys off to a great start with the touchdown drive right after the fumble recovery. But he said that as you were working out in practices during the week, the scout team was actually working on cutting. And I guess you have to do that to prepare for this kind of offense and buying into that sort of style. So I talk about what the preparation was like during the week.
Relentless. We've played against Air Force, and I've played against Air Force as a coach for a long, long time, and it's impossible to simulate. And it's certainly impossible to simulate if you have your normal rules of engagement for practice, because there's nothing normal about the academy and how they play football. And so really the rules of engagement for practice go basically to as close to game speed as possible, with some of the risk you inherit. But that risk that the players inherit through their preparation actually translates to giving them their best chance to play well. And a lot of times the first series or two against Air Force is when they have so much success, because you're trying to adjust to the speed and the angles and the different things they have going. We actually played really well at the beginning, and quite frankly for a lot of the game. And then now we have some things to work on in terms of closing out the game, which isn't really what you think about in terms of defending the pass in 2 minutes and that kind of thing against the academy. And you kind of run out of time by the end of the week. Is, oh, wait a second, we better dial that in. And so we have a little room to improve there for sure. But it took a lot of work to get to that point in the game and in the week. And so, yeah, I'll take it for sure.
When you get a win like this against a team like this, there's a lot of guys. Everybody looks at Bryson Barnes and the offense and the defense and the stars that scored touchdowns and things like that. But a win like this, you don't get it if you don't have your scout team buying in and working their tail end off. And those guys don't get a lot of credit, but they deserve as much credit for a win like this against a team like this than anybody.
They really do. And throughout the course of my career, it's been interesting just to track different young people, and I'm going to talk stereotypically for just a second here, not individually, because there are exceptions. But so many of the kids that have gone on to have the most success in life after playing football at the collegiate level in my program, and it might be the same in others. I can't speak for others just because I didn't do the research, but the kids that walk on and are the scout team players end up, there's a quality of selflessness. There's a quality of camaraderie and building team. There's a depth of compassion for teammates. There's a grit and determination and a team spirit that just is inherent, that they carry into their families and they carry into their workplace. And many times they have maybe more success, even by the world standards, because of that training, where they're not in the spotlight, nor do they expect to be, nor do they want to be. And just their pure love of playing the game, being part of the team and contributing, they feel just grateful, which is just a remarkable thing. And I saw that all week long. And many times we had defensive players. Our roster is getting pretty thin already, playing receiver and playing running back to service each other right on the same side of the ball, similar on offense. So we're having to do some pretty unique things already just after week 3, and it's just really fun to watch.
I got to ask you, how good was your quarterback tonight?
So it was really fun. He just came into he was going into the press conference, and I just grabbed him for a second, and you can just see who he is becoming. He's a really good football player already, but the confidence, the poise, the presence, his composure, just his countenance, right? There's just a transformation going on from an already good football player to one that his level of confidence and command, I think, is really growing. And it's just, I'm watching it happen right before my eyes. And I'd say similarly with Will Holmes, for a young man that doesn't really have a football background, and now he's playing the option, right? I mean, wow. So there's a lot of cool side stories happening along the way.
When you have a guy like, two receivers that continue to play really hard, but Braden Pagan I thought was just fantastic. 7 catches, 147 yards and 2 touchdowns. But Brady Boyd's starting to really step up as well, and he's got some opportunities. The development of your receivers seem like and the trajectory they're on could be really special.
Yeah, and the next one coming is Anthony Garcia, our guy that plays both quarterback and receiver. Here he comes. So you add him with Javen and Miles and Bryson. And now you saw a little bit of Noah White tonight as well. There's another wave coming. So the ones you're seeing, yes, and that's really fun. There's another wave that's emerging also, which is timely. But I love running a developmental program, and so many of the players that I've coached that I've gone on to the NFL, they weren't 4 or 5 star players. Only 2 of the I think 136 was the number. And the rest are just 3 or less, and kids that are just battling and becoming, and maybe have tried one place or another and didn't fit for them there. And so Pagan and Boyd both are, they're doing a really nice job. But they're also, the scheme is being designed by Coach McGivern in a way to really to leverage, highlight, and you can kind of see an identity starting to shape and grow and become more clear in only 3 weeks' time.
Couple of things that jumped out. Back-to-back weeks of 11 penalties. Tonight, only 5.
Hey,
and
hey, hey, that was the first I've heard that because the team heard it all week, so that's good.
And obviously heard all week about the protection challenges. Only 2 sacks tonight. I thought that your guys up front did a really nice job of paving the way to 470-plus yards of offense tonight.
Yeah, working really hard, and Coach McGivern certainly deserves so much credit for the scheme, but the offensive front for working on it. We're transparent in our program. We don't hide or talk around things. We share the brutal facts, and we get to work on them. And our team knew that had to happen, both penalties and the minus yardage plays. And Air Force is really skilled in pressure, is also twisting in the different pass rush games. So I thought our offensive staff did a super job of keeping them off balance. And it was hard for Air Force to ever know truly, hey, this is drop back pass. And as a result, that helped our offensive front, but also just helped the ball keep moving.
As a defensive guy, how hard is it when you've got 2 running backs in Jacobs and Davis that can be used in multiple ways, whether it's motioning out of the backfield, playing in the slot, or having both those guys out on the field at the same time? Just what kind of headaches does that create a defense?
Yeah, it's tough because you really don't know what personnel, because do you count Javen as a slot, or do you count him as the running back, or do you count him as a receiver? And if Miles isn't in the backfield, what do you do with that? And who do you match up on him? And you kind of got to match up at your own risk if you just think he's a running back. And then based on where the receivers / tight ends are in their alignment, they might be at the number 1 spot, number 2, or number 3. There's different challenges that our offensive staff is presenting to defenses, especially when there's multiple backs out there at the same time.
Hey, Coach, 2-part question really quick to maybe finish this thing up. But 3 turnovers tonight. Mm-hmm. None given. That led to 14 points. You win by 19. Very key tonight to getting a W. But I wanted to ask you about whenever you see an Air Force team throw it 23 times, do you feel good that you're going to get a win with that kind of making them throw that many times?
And so you always want to play from in front against the Academy whenever possible. And if you can get a 2-score lead, that helps. If you can get to 3 scores, which is really hard to do, man, then you run out of time in your practice week to then get to just your pass coverage only versus some pretty challenging routes. And, man, we had yes, great indicator. But then, as you can tell, tonight the game's just not over because then they have capable players with pretty challenging route concepts, and all you've been doing all week is working against the option and defending the run. And so sometimes all of your best coverage things you don't carry into the game because you haven't had a chance to work on them. And so that's happened to me in a couple times over my, I'm not sure how many times I've played against Air Force between New Mexico and BYU, but it's a lot, and that's happened a number of times. And you kind of make calculated guess of how much you'll need to carry in. But if it's going to be 23 times, then, yeah, you need to make critical plays here and there. And D'Angelo Mays, the interception, it pretty much sealed the game, which was great.
There's Bronco Mendenhall talking Aggies. Next, we'll hear from the Utes after their win at Wyoming. A reminder, don't miss your chance to win big every week on The Zone. This week on Win Ticket Wednesday, win a 4-pack of tickets to Wings and Wheels. Wings and Wheels, the Spanish Fork's premier aviation and automotive event, September 27th at the Spanish Fork Airport. Don't miss vintage warbirds, classic cars, exotic sports vehicles, and thrilling aerial performances. Listen to The Zone all day Wednesday for your chance to win. Kyle Whittingham coming up next. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Well, the Utes were clinging to a 3-0 lead at halftime, and then they scored a touchdown every time they touched the ball in the second half, and they win going away, 31-6. We'll hear from the players first. Quarterback Devin Dampier, Nick Rogers carried the ball well, and John Henry Daly, who his ability to rush the quarterback was impressive. Forced a fumble, got a couple of sacks, really made his presence felt. Here are the Utes after the win.
Devin, it started a little slow. You guys were getting a lot of production. It just kind of wasn't coming together. What kind of work do you think happened in that first half especially?
Yeah, just finishing drives, capitalizing on third downs. We'll obviously fix that in the second half. The bigger story for the first half is definitely defense. They held them down to 6 points the whole game. So I'm glad, we have both sides of the ball.
Devin Akari, what was the message in halftime just to kind of turn around the game and score some points?
I say kind of capitalizing off of, the defense positives. We was just, how can I say, we would drive down the field and we wasn't executing the red zone like how we was in the previous week. So I'd say just, how can I say, we were just capitalizing as far as off of defensive positives,
John, you had a pretty big first half. Just what kind of groove do you feel like you're in, or do you just feel like this is who you've always been?
Yeah, I feel like I'm definitely getting more comfortable out there. We got amazing guys at every position on defense, so we got so many great players surrounding me. You definitely want to go out there and do some great things, and that's what motivates me.
Devin, take me through the play where you fumbled, picked it up, and then threw a touchdown.
I was looking for a receiver. It kind of just slipped out. And, I trust my O-line that they're holding up, and they were. So I was able to pick the ball up without having to dive on it. And, I just seen Larry in the back of the end zone, and he got wide open for me.
Devin, you played this team last year and came up with the loss. But this year, the defense, with the way that they're playing, how motivating is that for them to see them make plays on that side of the ball and then to come out and try to put something together on offense?
Yeah, it's huge. Again, last year it was more of a shootout kind of game. The fact that we were able to make, our struggles on offense, and just to know that there's a defense that's going to play hard. And even in the locker room at halftime, they told us, we got y'all back. Y'all going to get it clicking. Just to hear the positive feedback from them and the way they finished the game, huge kudos to them.
2 weeks in a row now, there's been a fair amount of penalties. What can you guys do to kind of limit those?
Yeah, I thought our boys was playing hard. So maybe some of those calls were a little biased, but that's just being smarter on the field. If you think we're gonna get a block in the back or something, just throwing the hands up, just use your body to make that block. Just small details like that, but we'll get it figured out.
Henry, what is it about the defense that you guys seem to take it personally when they get a first down or across midfield? What is it about the defense that makes it so stinky?
Yeah, we got a lot of guys that love to compete, that have that kind of personality that we want to go out there and show everybody what we're able to do every single Saturday. And so whenever somebody makes a play on us, we feel like we need to respond in a like manner. And so when you got that many people, 11 guys on one side of the ball who are just fired up and ready to show everybody what we're capable of week in, week out, then it becomes something where, we want to make sure people know that we can dominate in the trenches and also on the back end as well.
Gary, you guys rushed for 311 yards today. What does that say about just your overall attack where each of you were able to do something different?
Right. We all rushed. Anybody who had got the ball, it was 5 yards apart, didn't matter who it was. And shout out to the O-line, man. We couldn't do it without them. So,
Yeah, it seemed like there was a lot of unforced errors. There was the turnover at the 7-yard line that happened in the first half. Just What do you feel like you guys did at halftime to kind of adjust from that? Was it just a discipline thing? I mean, walk me through that.
Yeah, again, just third down percentage. We've been good at that all year, and as you see, as we came out in halftime, when we're able to convert on third downs, we keep the ball moving. So that was a big emphasis to, make sure we're finishing drives, not just, those first two plays. We're able to recover off of our holding calls a lot better from our second half as well. But yeah, just adversity. I'm glad we had it earlier than later for sure. I wanted to see what our offense is built of, and for us to not have that touchdown and to be able to come out halftime and go 100%. Awesome to see.
How good does it feel for you guys that transferred from New Mexico to get this win after last year? What happened against Wyoming? I know it's a new team and everything.
Yeah.
But you guys probably remember that.
Yeah, no, I lost it in my freshman year too. So it was definitely one of those where I was like, okay, I gotta get a win against them at some point. And again, the huge emphasis was defense. Defense shut them boys out today. So I was glad to have a defense going against them.
Dev, what would you credit as that led to the big difference in terms of your execution in the second half?
Yeah, if third downs again. Third downs is what keeps moving the ball. We had ourselves in third and short in the first half. We weren't getting them. I think a mindset change, especially for the offense. Every third down we held it up. I talked to those boys. Let's get this third down, and we got it every time. So I think it's just the mentality that we came out with, and when things start clicking for us, we obviously capitalize on it.
Devin, if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw you go up to Nate after his fumble. What did you kind of say? Like, how do you kind of help somebody like that work through that?
Yeah, Nate used to play quarterback, and I told him, quarterback is a very leadership position, and, you've been in that situation before. Bad things happen all the time. It's football. It's not going to always go your way. So, just get in his head, tell him, get up. Don't show that to the crowd. Don't show that to our players. People are looking at you right now, you know what I mean? So carry yourself high. Carry yourself with confidence. One play doesn't define you.
Time for one more. Kyle came into this game saying he wanted to see more explosive plays on offense. Do you feel like that led to, I guess not pushing on offense, but just kind of, was it hard for you guys to settle in a bit just because you wanted to find explosive plays down the field and all that? Yeah, I think we were just playing football, to be completely honest. I think we had plays where big plays could have possibly happened, but we definitely didn't play to not convert, not try to score the football. Shout out to defense again. Can't say it enough.
There are the U players. Now here's the head coach, Kyle Whittingham.
Okay, kind of a weird game, I'll tell you that. We had very similar yardage, total first half and second half, but very different results. Just weren't finishing drives in the first half. And I'll tell you what, I got a lot of respect for that Wyoming team. They're tough players, well coached, and they gave us everything they had. And so, like I said, hats off to them, and really think that they got a bright future. Second half, like I said, 4 drives, 4 touchdowns. And, in the first half, we found a way to bog down. We hit a field goal early, then we missed a couple, and then had to punt once or twice, so it was, we just couldn't finish, and so that was really the difference between the halves. Defense, conversely, was good the entire game. I thought they played well, and a little soft against the run there towards the end, but did a nice job. Came away with we had 2 takeaways, the strip sack and the interception. So a couple takeaways, almost scored on the Jackson Benny pick. Way too many penalties. That's a big negative for us, is we got to play cleaner apparently, and we just had, that's not like us to have that many penalties and that much penalty yardage. So we got to do a better job with that. I thought Devin played really well. I haven't looked at his numbers yet, but he's a playmaker, and again did not throw an interception, didn't turn it over, did a nice job distributing the ball. Ryan Davis had to be our leading receiver. Catch-wise, I don't know how many he had, but probably double digits. And so, anyway, what questions you have?
How difficult is it when you get that many penalties and sometimes you may not think that they're penalties? How do you coach that with your team?
Yeah, as I watched the replays, some of them were legit, some of them I was just not sure about, but I just know that they were called, and so we've got to be better. I never complain about referees or anything like that. We just got to be better. And that really was another reason why we were unable to finish drives in the first half. I think we had 70 of the 95 penalty yards in the first half. And that doesn't usually yield very good results.
What was your message to the team there in the locker room?
Finish drives. Very simple. Defense, we were playing well, like I said, tackling well, defending the rush well. I think they only had like 20 or 30 yards of rushing at halftime. And the whole issue was finishing drives on offense. And fortunately, we got that corrected. And our O-line did a really good job in that second half. Took charge and really controlled the line of scrimmage.
Kyle, Devin said that obviously finishing drives, but finishing third downs and converting those in the first half was kind of the issue. Were you guys able to pinpoint something at halftime that was going wrong on those third downs that you switched on?
Not really. No, not really. Just weren't executing as well as we needed to. And we had been really good on third down the first two games. And I think probably our final numbers tonight weren't bad, third down wise. But no, nothing that was a major adjustment of any sort.
Coach, how important is it for Devin to execute on schedule? It seemed like that was a difference in the second half.
Yeah, that's very important. That's important for anybody. I mean, if you get behind the chains and it's tough to overcome that. But when we can be productive on first and second down and set up manageable third downs, that's ideal. And you're exactly right. That's what we did in that second half.
Kyle, you had 3 missed field goals today. Was there anything in particular with Dylan that kind of led to that?
Not that I'll have to talk to him. The one that came out really funky was, I think the hole was not clean. But he's got a strong leg. You saw what he does for us on kickoffs. And he'll be back. He's just a freshman, and he'll learn from this. And I think he's tough enough mentally to get himself right. And hopefully he makes some big kicks for us down the road.
Kyle, you walked into this week saying you wanted more explosive plays from the offense, and you had 311 rushing yards. How do you, I guess, balance, your rushing attack with such a good offensive line that you have, but also trying to get the passing game going and finding receivers to kind of get consistency?
You want to be balanced. That's the operative word, and I think we've been pretty balanced through 3 weeks. Maybe a little run heavy, but you get an offensive line that controls the line of scrimmage. It's harder to screw up the run game than it is the pass game. I'll tell you that. So and we got 2 good running backs. Well, actually more than that. Wayshawn and Knock are the lead guys. But you saw what Hunter can do, and then Smith Snowden adds his, and Nate Johnson had a really nice run. Unfortunately, he got stripped at the end of it. But we're trying to be balanced and keep them guessing. And a lot of it has to do with how they're playing us. If they're playing us with a too high safety look, it's going to be more run heavy, and vice versa if it's a single high.
Coach, it seems like Dallin Bentley is emerging as a go-to weapon for Dampier. What has his presence meant to the passing game and the offense in general?
Yeah, he's been big. I mean, I saw it coming. We saw it coming in spring ball. The light switch went on for Dallin in spring ball, and he was finally able to stay healthy. That's what had hampered him the last couple of years, is he kept having nagging injuries. And he's been healthy, knock on wood, and carried a really good spring right into fall camp, and has been just consistent and steady and dependable. And not only with his pass catching, his blocking has been much improved. So he's a valuable weapon for us.
Kyle, you had that 19-play drive where Devin finished it with the fumble, touchdown.
Was that 19 plays?
Yeah.
Wow.
With that kind of drive, there's a lot of adversity in that drive. What does that say about your team that you were able to overcome that, especially that 3rd and 21 that got to Dallin?
Yeah, well, it says just that we were able to handle adversity, and we're going to have adversity in Division I football every week, some way, shape, or form. You're going to have adversity, and you better be good at handling it if you want to be a team that has a chance to be a championship team. And so I was proud of the way they did that. That was a heck of a play by Devin to keep the play alive, picking up that one ball and finding, I think it was Larry. Was it Larry in the end zone? Yeah, Simmons. And I didn't realize it was 19 plays. That's our second drive of that length, I guess, this year. So that'll wear our defense out, too.
After these first 3 opponents, how do you get ready for Texas Tech?
Yeah.
It seems like the level may rise quite a bit.
Sure will. And we got to be up for the occasion. It's at our place, and our fans will be there in full force, and the Moss and the band. And it'll be a great environment for us. Kickoff time doesn't bother us a bit. 10 o'clock, that's no problem at all. And so, but you're right, the degree of difficulty is getting higher, and that's what you'd expect. And we're excited about the challenge.
Coach, any update on Rabbit Evans?
Yeah, doesn't look good. it's a lower leg injury that looks like it could be season-ending. So that's unfortunate. That kid, I feel so bad for him. He's worked so hard and just can't seem to get a break. And it's like I said, it's something pretty serious. I don't know. We'll have to look at what his redshirt situation is, and hopefully we'll get him back for another year, maybe 2 years. Depending on what the circumstances are.
John Henry Daly had a big game tonight. How impactful was he, especially in that first half?
Yeah, he's been our most reliable, consistent pass rusher through the first 3 games. I think he's leading our team in sacks. If not, he's right up there. He was the guy that had the strip sack. He's a tough kid. He just keeps coming at you. He's a throwback guy. He's old school. He's just just a grinder. You remember Hunter Dimmick played for us? That's exactly who it reminds me of. Is Hunter Dimmick.
Kyle, what was your reaction on the fumble? Obviously, you picked it up and then lasered it to Larry Simmons. I mean, what was your reaction to that?
My reaction was I was happy. The ball's on the ground, and credit him. A lot of quarterbacks would have just gone and dove on it. But he has the presence of mind and the just that it factor where he just, hey, let's keep this thing alive and make something out of it. And so he's it takes a rare guy to be able to do that.
You guys are near the top of the country.
Nice cowboy hat. Did you buy that here?
No.
Oh, you brought it with you? Okay.
You guys have been top of the country in third downs. Probably will remain close to that after 9 of 15, I think, today.
Both sides you talking, or you talking offense?
Offense.
Yeah, because I think we're up there.
Can you give us a little insight on Devin's composure, but also maybe the play calling, how you felt the third downs have been?
Well, I think it goes back to what we talked about a minute ago with first and second down being productive and having third downs that are manageable. If you get a bunch of 3rd and 10 plus, you can have a hard time having a high conversion rate. And so if you can stay on schedule, not get behind the chains and get those. And Jason has proven to be a very masterful third down play caller so far. I mean, he seems to have the right call and just get what we need for the conversion. And so between Jason's play calling, being productive on first and second down, and Devin Dampier, just him being him, I think that's the formula for us.
There's Utah football coach Kyle Whittingham. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.